Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to the drawing board for round 14. I'm your host, Big Les. Going to be going through our scores for round 13 for both NRL Fantasy and SuperCoach. And then we'll also be going through the changes we're going to be making for this upcoming round 14. We'll start off with NRL Fantasy here. Our score from last week was pretty poor. Obviously, the bye round hurt us in fantasy. 685 was the final scoreline, a really poor score from where we've been going into this year or in the past this season. We've sort of had a really solid increase in terms of our form, but we've definitely hit a bump in the road with Byron, as I'm sure a lot of other people would have as well. Some of the standouts, obviously Sam Walker there, 118, 59 points, but obviously you captained him 118. Would have rather have captained a KO Weeks potentially with the 68 scoreline, but look, it is what it is. We made that choice. And we obviously got Sam Walker's double points there at captain. KO Weeks, though, having a huge game for the Canberra Raiders, getting some pretty decent points. Daniel Atkinson, the 51 scoreline, huge improvement. He wasn't one of the standouts either, so for him to get that 51 scoreline is really good. In a poor game, Dom Young still getting 46. I'm going to be monitoring him over the next 2 weeks. He might be a potential trade over the next few weeks. But yeah, look, not the best week for us. We only had 3 players that we could use on the bench. It's going to be very similar this week. In fact, we only have, it looks like, 12 players in the starting lineup and then 3 on the bench playing this week. We are in a bit of shambles going into round 14. Going into this week, Kamole Olakau'atu obviously comes back into our starting lineup, assuming he's playing. If not, we're going to have to make a few changes there, and the team's going to be even more shocking. But Kamole Olakau'atu, Patrick Carrigan back in the side. You would see there's a few changes with the trades. We'll go through that in a second. A new halves pairing too, which is looking nice for us. Obviously had a Galvin in the reserves. We brought him back in after the bye. What else? Zach Lomax back in the team as well, assuming that he's playing. Bostock we've had to include here, obviously, since we don't have any backup players. We only have the 11 trades left. We don't want to use up too many of those before the end of the season. Let's go through our trades, though, for this week. We've got Morgan Smithies coming out of the side this week. Josh Curran, he comes into our team. And then Sam Walker coming out of the side as well. He was only a 1-week play. He comes out. Dylan Brown comes in for us. He's got a pretty decent average. Yes, he's on the more expensive end, but as you can see here, still got 103K to spend, so not complaining whatsoever. I mean, you go ahead and look at Dylan Brown at the moment. His average, he's still got 50. He had 50 points, obviously, in round 13, 52.3 average. It's not too bad at all. I think he might go up a little bit just with the role that he's playing at Parramatta at the moment, just running the football. He's been really solid. I think he's going to have a big next few games. A lot of pressure off him. I think that he will get some pretty decent score lines. So Dylan Brown, he comes into my team. I don't know if I'm going to captain him going into this week. You know what? I'm probably going to have to be honest with the players that I've got in this team. Dylan Brown's going to be my captain this week. Jacob Kira is my vice. Kira is not the best week last week either with the 30 score line, but that's the changes that I'm making. I think Curran's going to have a big next few weeks as well. Look at his average, 46.5. He comes off the bench, plays 60 minutes, gets the job done in fantasy. It's not the worst average that you can have in this game at all, around the 50s. It's actually quite good. So looking for a big rip from Josh Curran, from Dylan Brown in these sides. Very excited to see how he go this week for fantasy, but I feel like we could get around the 685 scoreline like we did last week, just with the fact that we are missing a few guys. Kerr, Weeks, Plath, Katoa, Young, all out with the bye. Bostock also out. No replacements in the back line that we can do going into this week, which really hurts us. We were going to move Carraz onto the wing and put in another centre, but I don't have another centre to put in, and obviously, KO Weeks out with the bye. We couldn't keep him in the back line. So a few dramas for us for fantasy this week, unfortunately. But there you go. Those are my changes for this week. Let's move on to SuperCoach. All right, let's move on to SuperCoach. Obviously, a decent score for a bye round, 985. Just missed out on 1,000. And obviously, the big factor was our friend here, Blaze Talangi, not playing in this game. Really hurt us. Obviously, if he had played in that game coming off the bench, we would have cracked that 1,000, which would have been really nice in the bye round. Obviously, some massive news going into this week. Terrell May, Jeremy Marshall-King, some of our breadwinners, Angus Crichton, Nafa'u White, they'll all be missing out due to the bye, which is going to really hurt us. Nafa'u White was going to be a 1-week play. I think that he could definitely stay in our side, maybe as a reserve, or even come in and play in the starting back row, depending on how we structure our team going into the next few weeks. We did get in a bit of a pod play here, which we'll talk about in a second. You can probably already see them both. Our trades for this week still have a bit of leftover cash too, as you can see, which is great. Obviously, the end goal would be after the origin period to bring back in a good friend of the show, Nicho Hynes, or even Nathan Cleary, depending on how his form's going. But we'll have to wait and see. Nathan Cleary might be an option depending on how he returns from injury. And obviously as well, his price might go down substantially with him being out from injury for such a long period. He might even be a pod play when he comes back from injury too, depending on his pricing. But it will more likely be Nicho Hynes. We know that he's going to get some decent scorelines in NRL football, getting into September footy as well. That he's going to want to play up to get his side into and deep into finals as well. Now, obviously, last week as well, we had a few breadwinners out. Adam Fanua-Blake being out, and obviously late, didn't play. Obviously, Blaise Talungi in the end was named in the lineup, didn't end up playing. Ruben Garrick didn't end up playing either. Some breadwinners out this week, obviously, as we said before, Terrell May, Marshall King, Angus Crichton, Nafa'u White. We do get some guys back, though. Obviously, Burton, you'd imagine he gets named for the Dogs. We'll find out this afternoon. You guys will find out before I do. We're recording this on the Monday night. Galvin, he comes back in as well. Armstrong, I'm going to keep him in there. I think it was a one-off game for him, and Farlongo as well. We're going to have him on as a reserve for Melbourne. Obviously, he's going to have that fullback spot still, unless there's a big change that I'm not aware of. Our trades for this week, we traded out a back rower here. Let me just get the trades up. It was probably the biggest pod play trade all time with the amount of cap we still had. Let's go to undo changes so we can see the trades. So our trades for this week, we traded out Jed Cartwright and got Jack DeBellin, which was insane. We had Jerome Hughes come in for Sam Walker. As we said before, Sam Walker was only going to be the 1 week play. Jerome Hughes is going to come in and take a bit of time in this side, come back. Obviously, after we traded him out a few weeks ago, he's going to be in there for the next few weeks. Depending on if Sam Walker comes back after the bye and kills it during the origin period, he might come back in, but he's out at the moment. Jerome Hughes, he comes into the team. So great stuff there. We had 574K in the bank. As spare, we have 128 now. We do want to keep a bit of spare change to bring Nicho Hynes back into the team at some stage, as I said, after Origin. But confident in these 2 changes. I'm going to have Jerome Hughes at captain at the moment. That could change depending on Team List Tuesday and stuff like that. When I have a little bit of a deeper look into the matchups and stuff like that, we might get some late mail as to a captain's change. We might even get a captain's change by the post that comes out in the morning before this video even comes out. But Jerome Hughes, he is my captain at the moment. Great to see Garrick back in. I think that we are going to crack the 1,000 this week. This is what worries me, though. Carl Lawton at hooker. We don't have a good backup hooker. Carl Lawton's the only guy at the moment. We have to get Joey Lussick out of the team. So he came in. This concerns me, Carl Lawton, because he probably is going to get reduced minutes. Jake Simpkin obviously signed with the Manly Seagulls during the week. I'm hearing that he's going to be named at starting hooker, which means Carl Lawton's going to go back to the bench or even out of the side, depending on Lockie Croker and how he's travelling as well. So this worries me a little bit. As I said, it's going to be a Team List Tuesday sort of thing. We might even have to use our last boost. I don't want to, but we might have to. It might be a gun-to-head decision. And depending on Team List Tuesday as well, we might even have to trade Sam Walker back in, move Matt Burton into the starting half role. Again, depending on Team List Tuesday, if he's even named. And then bring in another hooker for Carl Lawton as well with that extra change. We'll have to wait and see how we go. But at the moment, these are my trades. Obviously, as you've seen them before, DeBellin and Hughes in, Cartwright and Sam Walker out. Make sure if you want any other great SuperCoach and NRL fantasy content, you want some help with your teams, I'm just a goer going about my work. I'm not the best guy to ever play the game. Obviously, if you've seen the past few videos, you know that. It doesn't take a wizard to figure that one out, or a genius to figure that one out. Yeah, look, I'm just a goer going about this, playing like the general player would. Not the best player, but I'm just going about my work and I'm showing you what I'm doing. Hopefully it helps you guys with how you play as well. Make sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube. Make sure to follow Big LEZ'S League _ on Instagram as well. We've got some great content on Instagram. Obviously trying to rebuild that as well after the old one got hacked. Trying to get those numbers back. So make sure, if you don't already, give it a follow. Cracked over 100 subscribers the other day, which is huge for us. Obviously, just frequently started posting on the YouTube and looking to keep that going for going forward as well. So hopefully grow that audience. It helps grow our audience on the Instagram as well. And hopefully we can get a bit more studio time as well. Not in the studio this week, as you can probably tell, in the bedroom studio. So hopefully we get some more studio time. I've got to figure out how to use all the cameras and stuff like that because I can't afford a producer at the moment. So we're going to get all that sorted over the next few weeks. We're definitely going to be in a little bit of a nicer setup, but I thought it'd be a great opportunity to show you actually what my team looks like on the desktop as well. As I said, like, subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one. There is round 14 of the drawing board.